Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Accelerate Your Performance podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Janet Pilcher, founder and president of Studer Education. We all want to build and be part of teams that are engaged and successful. Engagement and success go hand in hand because engaged employees are more likely to stay with an organization and do their best work. Last week, I began a conversation about getting and keeping employees engaged with my friend and colleague, Lana Fontenot, Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement and External Relations at South Louisiana Community College. Lana shared how she goes to great efforts to get employees engaged, even before their first day of work, and how she uses onboarding and pre-boarding as part of her strategy for building employee engagement. And today, I continue my conversation with Lana, and she explains how she keeps employees engaged well beyond their first days of beginning a new job. Because Lana knows how crucial employee engagement is for her team's success and her organization's success, she goes to great lengths to get people engaged and keep them engaged. And she uses some specific tactics for these purposes. Before we get into the rest of my conversation with Lana, let me remind you who she is. Lana is the Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement and External Relations for South Louisiana Community College, or SOLACC. And she also serves as the Executive Director of the Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization supporting the mission of SOLACC and its multi-campus footprint. In these positions, she provides leadership, strategy, and direction in all areas of advancement for the college, including fundraising, grant writing, communications, marketing, and external relations. In the past 10 plus years under her leadership, the foundation has experienced extraordinary growth and momentum. Scholarship giving has reached unprecedented levels and has grown almost 30-fold since 2012. Additionally, SOLACC's endowment portfolio has grown more than 2,300%, and total assets have increased 1,200% since 2014. To realize these kinds of successes, it's obvious that Lana has built a highly engaged team and that she knows how to keep them engaged. We pick up now where we left off from my interview with Lana last week, and we find out more about what she does to keep people engaged and well beyond the first days as a new hire. So once an employee is onboarded, it's still important to keep them engaged as they complete that 90 days and moving forward. So what are some of the ways you keep your teams engaged and your people engaged, Lana?
Yeah, Janet, it's through regular touch points. And, there is some great research from Gallup about engagement that employees are 3 times more likely to be engaged at work when they have regular one-on-ones. And so we not only meet every Monday morning, we call it our triple M, our Monday morning meeting. When all of the team is on campus, we meet for an hour and we talk about what's going on in each of our departments. I manage marketing, grants, as well as development / our foundation. And so it's a great time for us to get together. We have a past, present, future style to this 1 hour meeting where we quickly look back at the week prior and celebrate each other's wins. That was something that meant a lot to us because a lot of the work that we do, Janet, in higher ed and in education is very long term. It's a long road, a marathon, often more than a sprint. So we try to capitalize on those small wins throughout our journeys. And then we look at our present. What is coming up in this next week or so that is important to us? Does anyone need any last minute help? Any barriers we can remove out of your way? And then our final part of our team meeting is looking forward and what's a little bit more on the horizon, but we really need to start thinking about whether it's projects for the college, for the chancellor's office, or in our division. And so really been a great cadence. But I think where the rubber meets the road is those regular one-on-one meetings with your supervisor. And so I have several direct reports in my area, and then they have their direct reports. But it's so very important. We meet with each of our direct reports biweekly. So every other week we meet with them, and it really goes beyond the task check-in. There's been a template that I think I've really perfected over time. I've taken so much. I remember attending one of my first student education DHP conferences, and I remember one of the speakers walking us through one of his one-on-one meeting agendas, and I just took bits and pieces. I was taking copious notes, and so I do want to say that some of this is not exactly mine. I've been able to copy and steal things from some amazing leaders in higher education, but the way the cadence goes in our one-on-one meetings, which the employee owns, it's not my meeting with them, it's their meeting with me. And I do more listening than talking. They're the ones that need to talk and let me know about their projects, right? So it first starts off, because we meet every other week, is, hey, what have you been working on the last couple of weeks since we last met? And what were those results? And then we go into, okay, now what are your next 2 weeks looking like? What do the next 2 weeks ahead look like? What are actions that are needed, maybe projected results? And then it goes on to, again, items that are a little bit further on their time horizon, but things that they need to start acting on now so that projects don't creep up on them. We try to be as proactive as possible in our division. And then one of the biggest pieces, Janet, that I think has made a huge difference on engagement in our department is I asked 4 questions, and it's part of a reflection exercise, if you will. And again, it's taken right out of many of the books and literature from student education. Those 4 questions are: what's working well? I want to know what is successful, whether it's at the college level, things that are working really, really well, proof of concept in our division or our department. And then the flip side of the coin is what's maybe not working so well. Or if you even want to rephrase it, it's what would be standing in the way of your success? Because as a manager, as a leader, our jobs are to remove barriers for our employees. So it could be as simple as, Lana, I know Dr. June, our chancellor, is so busy, but you have a direct linkage to him. I have a very tight deadline with this grant application. Could you maybe expedite this request for me? And that's a huge barrier that's taken out of their way just because of my relationship and where I stand in the organization. So it allows me some great time to figure out what are some issues that may be coming up for them, that if I could play a part in eradicating that barrier, that's a huge part of engagement for them. The third question is, are there any staff members or departments that I can recognize? Who's gone out of your way in the last couple of weeks whom I could recognize? And Janet, I'll just say, that one is normally always filled out by my direct reports. And what I do is I listen to the person that they're wanting to recognize and the reason why they want to recognize them. But then I follow that up with an email, not only to that individual, but then their supervisor as well, mentioning that, look, I recently had a one-on-one with Anne, and she told me that you have been particularly helpful to her in this project, and here's why. And then I close out by thanking them for being such a valued employee and team member at the college, and thank you so much for choosing SOLA CC, our institution, our college, as your place of employment. And then the last question, Janet, the fourth question, as we start to wrap up our one-on-ones, is time that they want to take off. Not only is that important to me as a supervisor, because I have to know when employees are going to be out, especially if it's during a critical period and we need some obvious coverage. I can move some things around and some projects and people, but also at the same time, things that are becoming such a hot topic, or the work-life balance, mental health, making sure that you're taking care of your personal self as well, mind, body, and spirit. And so I have some workaholics in my division, and sometimes higher ed can have several of those. And so that's a big discussion that we have if I notice an employee is just working and working and hustling. And so I'll just mention to them, hey, I'd really like for you to consider in the next couple of weeks taking some time off. Or they may mention that they're having an upcoming vacation, and it allows me to get to know them and their families more and engage in some personal dialogue. And then the last piece of our one-on-one meetings is every quarter I ask them to update me on the progress of their annual goals that they've set. And so they could kind of tell me if they're trending, they're looking like they're going to exceed those goals, or maybe priorities have changed, or again, there's some big barriers in the way that we've got to discuss and solve. So it's been a fantastic way for me as a leader to keep my finger on the pulse of each of the employees, not only from a professional standpoint, but a personal standpoint.
And Lana, the last two questions, just the way that you've created a structure that works for you, it's just magical. Sometimes we're asked, you kind of did a combination of the one-on-one meeting and rounding and the interconnection to that. And some people ask, well, when do I do this or when do I do that? What you've done is taken it on to say, I'm going to meet with my team members every other week. And I'm going to integrate the monthly meeting and the rounding components together. And I'm going to build that template in a way that works for me. I mean, you've just done that masterfully. So that's exactly what the work is intended to do, is what does it mean for you as a leader, and what does it mean for you to be able to support your team? And you're just a model to others for how to do that. So thank you for the effort. This doesn't just happen. You had to put the effort in and the thought process and do some testing in terms of what works and what doesn't and modify along the way. So just thank you for being that leader.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. And something that really we didn't talk about, and it's the final piece, is that growth model. And so when you think about you're onboarding employees properly, you're engaging them. Engagement is not a one-time thing. It happens day in and day out, year round. You never stop doing it. It's not a check the box and, oh, I'm done. I don't have to see about engagement until next year. But then that third piece is that growth model. And I think it's something that we've done really successfully at the institution and also through our division. Those one-on-one agendas that I just talked to you about, it's a formula. It's a
Yeah.
template that we have posted and they complete it. They bring a copy for themselves. They bring a copy for me. And Janet, where the magic happens is I'm writing copious notes everywhere. I'm storing action items that I have to then go and do as a result of these one-on-one meetings. But I'm also writing notes in the margin where that employee went above and beyond. They really exceeded expectations, or, ooh, gosh, this is really an area for improvement. And not only do we talk about it through the one-on-one via coaching, but at the same time, that note is also made in their file through their agenda. I keep a folder for each of my employees, and at the end of every one-on-one, after I'm finished all of my action items, I then file it away. And when it comes time for annual evals, I'm able to look at a whole year's worth of one-on-ones and truly fairly evaluate that employee. Because look, I've been there in the past and we're all busy as managers, but when you sit down to do an employee evaluation, how many people are simply thinking about, oh gosh, what have they done in the last month that I can remember and call to mind and put in the evaluation? And truly that's unfair to you as the manager, and that's unfair to the employee because they achieved so much in the prior 12 months, right? And so I'm able to go through and highlight with specificity things that they did that shows where they either met expectations, they exceeded expectations, or they are that outstanding high performer. And then on the flip side, also things throughout the year that not only did we discuss, because an annual evaluation shouldn't be a surprise, but through these different conversations, here's some areas that I really want you to focus on next year to improve. And so that's been a very rewarding process. I know a lot of managers don't look forward to it and employees don't look forward to it, but I think we've kind of cracked the code with our
Yeah.
annual evals where it's very much a successful look back at their true prior 12 months and focusing on how that employee can grow. And then the final piece, Janet, that I've added to our annual evaluation process is a separate, very simple one-page document that's called a professional development plan. And it's broken up into kind of two pretty simple sections. That's after you ask the employee's general information, it's okay. First question is, what do you want to achieve in the next 12 months? So that's a fiscal year because I'm in budget planning mode. So do you want to gain a new skill? Do you want to attend XYZ conference that's focused on XYZ functional area? Okay, after that, what are your top three choices for achieving that goal? And so, especially if it involves budget, I want to know what kind of conferences are you looking at and how I can finagle my budget to make sure that everybody can work in some meaningful way towards their immediate, their short-term goal. And then the bottom half of that one pager is asking that employee, I see you. You are valued. I hear you in what you want to achieve for the next 12 months. But now I want to know and take it to another level. What do you want to achieve as a long-term goal? Like the next 3 to 5 years. For some people, Janet, I've been told, I would love your job one day, Lana. All right, let's work towards it. Or, Lana, I've always wanted to get a master's degree and I've just put it off and I've put it off. But by golly, I am going to sign up this next semester. And so those have been
Nice.
incredible conversations that we've had, or credentials that are going to take a little bit longer than a year to study for and obtain. And whatever I can do as their manager, whether it's educational leave, which we have at our institution, or checking in with them, supporting them in any which way to achieve their goals. I cannot promise any employee a position, a new position at our college. But what I can promise to them is I will support you in whatever you want to achieve, even if it's supporting you getting a phenomenal job eventually outside of our institution. And I tell you, Janet, that has equated to huge employee net promoter scores at our organization and even in our own division.
Yeah. And yeah, just taking the through line today from onboarding to employee engagement, taking that through line to evaluation and continued support for the professionals, building them as professionals and helping them achieve their goals. So let's close today, Lana. If you look at the connection of the conversation, the pieces and parts of the conversation that we've had today, how does that affect organizational culture? How have you
Oh,
seen that?
it's huge. It is absolutely huge. We've seen a difference in our division and even outside of other organizations. You don't realize the magic that's happening until you get new employees that come into your organizations and they say, I've never had an onboarding experience like this. I've never felt so prepared. I've never felt so set up for success, so seen, so valued. Those are the employees that are going to give you their all. They are going to become, and they already are, those high performers. So that's in the continuous improvement model. If you're not seriously as a leader looking at onboarding, engagement, and growth in your employees, you're really missing the boat, because the kind of business we're in, it's a people business, and we can only achieve outstanding places as an organization and achieving and exceeding our goals through our people, right? We're not machines. And so if you have a dedicated group of leaders who ensure that their people feel seen and valued and heard, that is the true culture at your organization. It's not a poster on the wall, right? It's how you treat your employees, and it starts at the leader and the supervisor and the manager level.
Yeah, so good. And I'm going to end just asking you this question. How does it feel for you as a leader when you're doing these things and you're looking at making a difference to you as a person and as a leader? What's that feel like, Lana?
It feels great. Look, I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of work. I can't look at another leader and say, oh, you're only going to spend like an hour doing this. This has taken a lot of time to build. But Janet, it saves me time on the back end. I rarely, if ever, have personnel issues. How many organizations and departments and divisions are plagued by organizational issues, right? I have people who are happy. They're telling us this on the survey. We have some of the highest employee net promoter scores out of the whole college. They're saying, we love it here. We're doing something right. So it's a good investment of time and effort. And it is so rewarding. It is so rewarding as a leader.
Yeah. And thank you so much. This is such a nice interview for me, Lana. I've known you for over a decade now. I've watched you when you moved into your position and from the beginning into where you are and your growth as a leader. And I mean, you're one of the best. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to be here and having time to engage in this conversation with you because it's so meaningful to our profession and so meaningful to the people that we serve each and every day. So thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely, Janet. And again, I have to give so much credit to Studer Education. Without you guys and without working with you guys for a decade plus, I don't think I would have gotten a lot of the tools that I've added to my toolkit without you guys. So thank y'all.
Okay, thank you. Getting and keeping employees engaged is hard, intentional work. But as Lana shared, it's worth the time and effort. And it is incredibly rewarding. This process of getting and keeping employees engaged begins even before a new hire walks into the office and is ongoing during the employee's tenure at the organization. There are meaningful, deliberate ways that we can boost engagement and support employees. It's not easy, but it's worth it. When we invest in our employees, support them in growing their skills, and build processes to support them in their growth efforts, we not only keep them engaged, but we also show them that we are invested in their engagement. We show them that we care about them and value their voices. Thank you, Lana, for highlighting how important employee engagement really is, and for setting an example for what right looks like with employee engagement efforts. Your examples and your commitment to your team and the employees of the organization, it's a model for the way that we as leaders can show up every day for the people who work with us to help us achieve the important goals and to make an impact with students. We all have a vested interest in getting and keeping employees engaged. So let's work together to build engaging organizations, cultures, and systems that show people they are seen, valued, and heard. Take some time this week to do one intentional act that you learned about in these last 2 episodes. Act on it and build a way where you can create opportunities for your team to achieve success and to be highly engaged in the organization, with each other, and with our students. Have a great week, everyone.